Hello, grade 8 students, and welcome to a new English lesson. Our lesson today is Module 8A, Speak and Listen, Student Book, page 99. Please open your book and let's start our lesson. Let's have a look at today's objectives. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to talk about 3 newspaper headlines, locate specific information after listening to 2 news bulletins to answer 6 questions correctly. Let's have a look at our starter today. Read the 2 examples of a headline and decide which one is a good example of a newspaper headline. Take your time and justify your answer. Welcome back, my dear students. The best example of a newspaper headline, number 1 or number 2, great, is the second headline. Do you know why? Let's have a look at it carefully. Let's read the first example first. A fire broke out yesterday and the whole town was left in danger. Here, in the good newspaper headline, we don't use the articles a or the. Also, we don't use conjunctions like and also we don't use the passive. The past passive here, we don't use the passive. So, if you want to write a good newspaper headline, don't do this and don't use articles a or an or the, and don't use conjunctions and don't use the passive. Now let's have a look at this step and read it carefully together. The purpose of a headline is to stimulate the reader's interest concerning the content of an article. The language used is elliptical. You should use abbreviated language and you should be specific, as incomplete sentences and short words are preferred. Also, no articles are used, and when passive voice is used, the auxiliary verb is usually omitted. Headlines should be clear and specific, telling the reader what the story is about, and be interesting enough to draw them into reading the article. Now let's learn how to write a good newspaper headline. Number 1, 5 to 10 words at the most. Number 2, should be accurate and specific. Number 3, use present tense and active verbs, but don't start with a verb. Number 4, use infinitive form of verb for future actions. Number 5, don't use articles a, an, or the. Number 6, don't use conjunctions like and, but, etc. Number 7, don't use pronouns. Now let's study some words which you will meet in today's lesson. And let's start with the word bulletin. Look at the picture. Can you guess the meaning of bulletin? Great. It is a short news report on the radio or television. Blackout. Blackout means a short period when the electricity supply to a building or district is stopped, especially at night. Damage. Look at the picture. Damage, it is a physical harm caused to something so that it is broken, spoiled, or injured. Spread. Spread means to cover, reach, or have an effect on a wider or increasing area. Power plant. As you can see from the picture, can you guess the meaning? Great. A machine that produces power, especially electricity. Firefighter is a person whose job is to stop fires from burning. Put out, to make something stop burning. Resident is a person who lives in a house in a particular place. Now please open your student book, page 99, exercise 3, A. And let's read the instructions together. Look at the newspaper headlines. What information do they give? So you have 3 minutes to think of the answer, and when you finish, play the video again to check your answer. You can start now. Welcome back, my dear students. Now let's check your answers, and let's start with the first headline. Homes damaged by fire that spread through neighborhood. What is your answer? Good. A fire spread through the neighborhood and homes were damaged. Great. Now let's move to the second headline. Town deals with blackout as fire continues to burn. There is a blackout in the town because of a fire. Also, the fire hasn't been put out yet. Great. The last headline. Fire stops burning but leaves a whole town without electricity. What information does this headline give? Great. The fire has stopped burning, but there is no electricity in the whole town. Now let's move to part B, and let's read the instructions together. Listen to 2 news bulletins and match them with the headlines in Activity A. Do you remember the 3 headlines in Activity A? Write A, B, or C. There is 1 extra headline which you don't need to use. Okay, are you ready to listen? Let's listen.
3. Speak and listen. B. Listen to 2 news bulletins and match them with the headlines in Activity A. Write A, B, or C. There is 1 extra headline which you do not need to use. News Bulletin 1.
Good evening. This is the news at 8 o'clock. The town of Newport is still in darkness after a fire broke out in a nearby power plant yesterday. The blackout has turned off every light in the town, and authorities are advising people to stay indoors, as all street lights and traffic lights have also gone dark. The fire spread quickly and burnt for nearly 7 hours. It destroyed the power plant and several kilometers of power lines before firefighters managed to put it out just 5 kilometers outside the town.
News Bulletin 2.
Good afternoon. The fire that broke out in the town of Ackwell this morning has finally been put out. The fire was caused by damaged electrical wiring inside a streetlight, and it quickly spread to nearby houses. Firefighters arrived on the scene and immediately turned off electricity to the area before putting out the fire. The damage to the houses, however, means that it could be many weeks before residents can return home.
Now let's check your answers. News Bulletin 1. What is the answer? Is it A, B, or C? Great. The right answer is C. Now let's move to News Bulletin 2. What is the right answer? Is it A or B? Great. It is A. Great, my dear students. Now let's move to part C. You will listen again and write T for true and F for false. Are you ready to listen? Let's listen.
C. Listen again and write T for true or F for false. News Bulletin 1.
Good evening. This is the news at 8 o'clock. The town of Newport is still in darkness after a fire broke out in a nearby power plant yesterday. The blackout has turned off every light in the town, and authorities are advising people to stay indoors, as all street lights and traffic lights have also gone dark. The fire spread quickly and burnt for nearly 7 hours. It destroyed the power plant and several kilometers of power lines before firefighters managed to put it out just 5 kilometers outside the town.
News Bulletin 2.
Good afternoon. The fire that broke out in the town of Ackwell this morning has finally been put out. The fire was caused by damaged electrical wiring inside a streetlight, and it quickly spread to nearby houses. Firefighters arrived on the scene and immediately turned off electricity to the area before putting out the fire. The damage to the houses, however, means that it could be many weeks before residents can return home.
Welcome back, my dear students. Now let's check your answers. Number 1. The fire started in a power plant. This is true or false? Great. This is true. Number 2. The fire was 7 kilometers away from Newport. False. News Bulletin 2. The fire in Aqua started in a house. This is true or false? Great, that's false. The firefighters cut off the electricity. Of course, this is true. Now let's move to part D and let's read the question together. Which of the two news bulletins do you find more worrying and why? Try to think of the answer and you can write down your answers in your notebook. When you finish, play the video again to check your answer. Welcome back, my dear students. Now let's have a look at the model answer to the question in exercise D and let's read the answer together. I think that both bulletins are worrying. The first one, however, is more worrying because the power plant provides power to all the homes in the area and it was destroyed. This kind of damage could take a long time to fix. Our closure today is an easy exercise on page 108 in your workbook. So please open your workbook, page 108, exercise B. Complete the headlines with the words in the box. So your job now is try to complete the 6 headlines here from 1 to 6 with the words here in the box. Let's read the words together. Breaks out, authorities, spreads, residents, mayor, evacuate. So please, you have 3 minutes. Take your time to complete the headlines, and when you finish, please play the video again to check your answers. You can start now. Welcome back, my dear students. Now let's check your answers. Number 1. Fire leaves Winchester space with no electricity. What is your answer? Can you read it aloud? Great. Residents. Let's move to number 2. Beaconsfield space asks government for help with blackout. What do you think the right answer is? Wonderful. Mayor. Number 3. Fire space at plastic factory on Slate Road, Street. What is the right answer? Great. Breaks out. Number 4. Police space town of Brent. What is your answer? Amazing. Evacuate. Number 5. Man who started forest fire arrested by local authorities. Great. The last one, number 6. Wind space fire from forest to nearby town. Spreads. Great, my dear students. This is the end of our lesson today. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Thank you for watching and goodbye.